website. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we're unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Pursuant to Mass General Law 7C 30A Section 20F, after notifying the chair of the public body, any person may make a video or audio recording of an open session of a meeting of a public body, may transmit the meeting through any medium. Beginning of the meeting, the chair shall inform other attendees of any such recording. So we are recording this, CTSB is recording this, the town is recording it, Berkshire Edge, and there may be other members of the public who have the right to record this. The listing of agenda items are those reasonably anticipated by the chair, which may be discussed at the meeting. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by law. So the first thing on our agenda is a joint appointment of the Zoning Board of Appeals alternate member. Mark, do you want to tee this up, or do you?
Steve, I was just looking to see if there were other ZBA members
Yeah, let me
in the participant list so that we have a quorum.
That's a good point.
I'm also keeping an eye out for Garfield, and I have not seen him come back in.
Okay. Ron, do you know if you have other members who are planning to join?
I don't. Michael Wise called me and told me that he is not going to be here, but I haven't heard from anybody else.
Okay.
Nor have I, Ron. This is Chris, and I don't see them. I don't see Madonna or Steve in the audience. It may be something the ZBA has to act on another time.
Oh, God.
Do we need a quorum of ZBA members or only of total members?
I believe of both boards because both boards appoint. I'm happy to be wrong, but I'm just.
That's my understanding as well.
Maybe the two of them should wait in case somebody shows up. We can move on and come back.
Yeah, I think that's what we'll do is we're not going to hold up. If the two of you don't mind waiting for maybe our first item, we'll go through our select board's announcement statements. We'll look again, and then we'll reassess.
Okay.
Okay. Garfield does not come back. Select board's announcements and statements. We'll start with Eric.
Yes. Just happy to be here at my first official meeting. Just wanted to say one other thing is I had the opportunity to talk with Bettina from Pulse at the HIC meeting and over the weekend. And I took a tour of her facilities and the dance studio there. Pretty amazing organization she's running over there. And just I feel extremely lucky and happy that we have her in our town. So just wanted to state that out there. Pulse is a great thing to have. Happy to have her here.
Thanks, Eric. Ed.
Yeah, I have a few, so I'll try and do them quickly. First, the police had their second open house this weekend. It was another success. Tours, ice cream donated by SoCo, and of course, Bico was there. I just want to thank Chief Storty because the police are doing a remarkable job, the whole department, about the community outreach, not just these open houses, but the other activities they've been doing. With my downtown Great Barrington Cultural District co-chair hat on, I just want to announce that the district, in collaboration with 4 other cultural districts, is sponsoring a community-wide celebration of the arts in September called Art Week. Any business or arts institution that wants to get involved can either you can email the culturalgb@gmail.com or me or Chris Rambold. Any of us, any of that can help to find out more. This next one's just a request, I guess. Oh, and I found your quorum. This next is a request that the governor's emergency order is going to expire soon, and we need to figure out what we're doing as far as live meetings, hybrid meetings. So just sort of put that on your radar.
Yeah, it's going to be on the next agenda.
Great. This one may take a little longer. The American Legion and the VFW of Housatonic had their Poppy Drive last weekend, where they raised money for veterans relief funds for both organizations, and it was apparently very successful. On Memorial Day, the Adams Buds VFW Post 8183, which is Housatonic Post, will be celebrating its 75th anniversary, and they'll be recognizing and celebrating Walter Samuels, who was one of the founding charter members. He enlisted in the Navy at age 17. He achieved the rank of Petty Officer 3rd Class and the job of signalman. And when he came home, he helped found the VFW Post, which was founded August 29th of 1946. I didn't find any of this out till this weekend, or I would have asked to have it on the agenda, but if it's okay with the chair, and if no one else objects, I would love this board to issue a proclamation honoring Petty Officer Samuels and thanking him for his service. If that's okay, I can write something up and get it to Mark to knock it into shape, and we can all sign it before next weekend.
It will be done.
Okay. That's all I got.
Okay. Lee?
Yes. So I was at the Housatonic meeting last Thursday as well, and a few items that were brought up that I'll just touch upon and request that we do bring it up at a future select board meeting is the status of Cook's Garage. It seems that there has been, a few residents have mentioned that it feels unsafe for especially the youth in Housatonic, and there's been a buildup of trash, and they're just wondering in general what the status is, if we could please provide an update. And also there seemed to be some miscommunication between the Housatonic Improvement Committee and the town, whether regarding the timing of tarping the school and securing the school. So I believe Mark might be giving us that update, but just, it might be good to have that, that update on the appropriation of funds for those purposes to be brought up at a select board meeting.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it for now.
I have a couple things. We wanted to set a date for a goal setting meeting with 2 new members. We wanted to look at that. So my suggestion is we do it probably one of the Mondays in June or July that we're not meeting. So the first one that came to mind is June 28th. Mark, you look at your calendar too. Are you away then? Or on vacation?
Yes, but I can attend remotely.
Right, but we could also move it to another one if we so needed. Yeah, the other one.
I see Garfield, Mark.
Okay, good. Because of the way the calendar works in July, the next one for me would be August 2nd. So let's look at June 28th and let's wait for Garfield to get on. Garfield, we're talking about a goal setting meeting and possibly June 28th. How's everyone with June 28th? Eric, Lee?
That works for me.
Okay. That's all right for me.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I got a little waylaid on this. Not the best with this new Mac yet, so it took me a moment.
No problem. Select board assignments. We have 4 committees which we are part of. And 3 out of the 4, the members are no longer on the select board, so we need to find a representative. Lee is going to stay on the Community Preservation Committee. So the first one would be Open Space and Recreation Plan Task Force. So is there a select board member who would like to volunteer for that?
I can volunteer for that one.
Okay, so Eric's. And then the select Board and Planning Board Housing Subcommittee. We need actually 2 select board members for that. There's 2 planning board members and 2 select board. Lee is 1.
Can you give me a little detail on that, Stephen?
Chris may be able to give better detail than I have since I wasn't a member. Did I lose Chris already?
I'm here.
There he is. I'm sorry.
But it's at one of the select board and planning board joint meetings, maybe 2-3 years ago, the boards decided to have a joint task force to work on affordable housing questions and possibly propose initiatives to the 2 boards, planning and select board. So the members from the planning board are Pedro and Jonathan, and from the select board, it was Bill Cook and Kate. So if you want to keep that subcommittee going, you need 2 new select board members.
I'll volunteer for the other spot.
Okay.
May I ask a question about that, Steve?
Of course.
Is that where the Airbnb discussion was taking place? Because we've sort of dropped the ball on that.
Yes, it is.
Okay, thanks.
So we have on the planning board and housing subcommittees, Lee and Garfield. And community preservation is Lee, and Eric is doing open space and recreation. So we have all of those covered. Garfield, we already did select board's announcements, so I'll go back to you if you have anything. Garfield, do you have anything select board announcements?
I do not have any announcements at the moment.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's go back to then the joint appointment of the zoning board of appeals alternate member. We have,
I just called Steve. Did he come on? I just called him. He's going to get on. He said, Steve McAllister.
okay,
He thought it was at 6:30.
he has not gotten on. We do have enough to go ahead with this. So.
Go ahead.
Yeah, that's, so I think we take a motion from each board, but it's the total number of votes. So we could, there's Steve. So we can take one motion from each board and vote on it to make this move as quickly as possible. So Lee, do you have a motion from the select board? There's one applicant.
Okay.
Yes.
Who's
JB
the applicant?
Brodeur. JB Brodeur.
Oh, JB, okay. I make a motion on behalf of the select board to recommend the appointment of JB Brodeur to the zoning board of appeals as alternate member.
Do I have a second?
Second.
So I have a motion by Lee, second by Ed. Any discussion? Hearing none, it's a roll call vote as all our virtual meetings. Garfield,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Ed,
Aye.
and Lee.
Aye.
Yours, Ron.
All right, Carolyn, do you want to?
Yes, I would like to nominate JB Brodeur as an alternate to the zoning board of appeals.
Second.
Any discussion?
No, we need this member.
Carolyn,
Yes.
vote. Madonna?
Yes.
And I'm yes too. Steve, are you there?
You're
Okay,
muted,
we have-
Steve.
Yeah,
we have a-
I'm here, yes.
you
And
Vote,
aye,
very good.
So it's a unanimous vote by both boards. Thank you for being here tonight. We appreciate it. Glad to give you another member.
Thank you.
Thank you.
good.
We'll move on to the town manager's report.
Thanks, Steve. First up on my list for this evening is the Monument Mountain Regional High School entrance. I was asked at our last meeting to include this topic on the agenda for this evening, and I did reach out and extend invitations to some of our local and state community partners so they could join this evening. Some of them are in attendance, so I would just ask at this time that you raise your hand if you'd like to participate in this conversation, and we'll promote you to be a panelist. And Lee, do you want to get us started? I know you wanted to read a statement.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Yes, so a few weeks ago at one of our select board meetings, I made a request to bring this issue to the attention of the select board yet again. This is an issue that's been going on for years and years and years with a lot of collisions. It's an intersection that troubled the town for many years. And the catalyst for me bringing up again was an accident on May 12th. And if the board allows me, I'd like to read a statement from the parents of the daughter of the student that was involved in the accident. So I will read this. So this is a notice or email that I received from Loretta Tenuta. On May 12th at 11:56 a.m., Marcella's collision had all the right elements for her to get into an accident. The flashing sign speed of 35 was not working. Oncoming traffic to enter the school coming from the south came at just the right time to block the visibility of the other car that hit Marcella while turning left. Even after looking left, right, and left again, she mistimed her exit, which led to the collision. It was brought to my attention that even when the flashing speed limit is on of 35, it is technically only a suggested speed limit. Tom, on the other hand, while driving on Route 22 in Brewster, New York, a couple days after the accident, encountered the same kind of school zone similar to Monument in a 55-mile-an-hour speed zone. The only difference was that there was a traffic light which prompted him to slow down and stop to allow for traffic coming in and out of the high school parking lot. In fact, the entire route, even in a seemingly unpopulated area near businesses, there were traffic lights which allowed traffic to cross. This same should be done for our school zone. Marcella takes full responsibility. We are fortunate that there were no serious injuries. However, the other driver totaled her car and broke her hand. This accident could have been much worse. Had the car struck our car any closer, the injuries could have been devastating. Short of that, we can do all the right things. Have the police implement traffic control during open and close of school hours and have speed monitors with flashing lights. These all seem reasonable and important safety measures. But the only way that we can come close to 100% accident-free zone is having a traffic light and a mandated lower speed limit for traffic to move safely in and out of the parking lot. If not, we are guaranteed more accidents, and we hope a fatal one does not have to be the price we pay for a traffic light. Thank you for listening, Tom and Loretta Tenuta. So just kicking off this topic, again, as I mentioned, this has been an issue that we've seen collisions after collisions happen. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is I feel that we've come to an impasse, that we really need as a town to be more forceful with the DOT to demand a traffic light. We have a flashing light there. We've had the police detail there. It looks like it could be many, many more years before the renovation of the high school happens and a new driveway is implemented. And it just feels that we're waiting for death to occur. I look at the accident that happened in Lenox a few years back with a fatality, and the way that the DOT stepped up almost immediately and provided barriers to close that intersection off. And I call for the DOT and I call for the representations in our community, both state and local, to step up and demand that the DOT install a traffic light. We've heard excuses over excuses, statistics, but what's missing for me is the lives and the stories behind these statistics. Does the DOT really take into account the inexperienced drivers and the fact that there could be up to 30 drivers behind an inexperienced driver, pressuring the student to make a rush turn? So I feel that it's time that we as a town and as town leaders demand that this be looked at and call for a light, not just a flashing light, but an actual light that prevents traffic and stops them so that students can safely turn. I appreciate the work that the police have given in terms of a detail. I believe that there has been some issues with timing and the fact that sometimes the police detail leaves before student drivers have taken their turn to get out of the school. This has been an ongoing issue. And I'm aware that sometimes it's a shift change. And because all these issues, I feel that we really owe it to our students who are, living and working in a school that's literally deteriorating in front of their eyes to provide a safe passage out of the school. So I hope this will be the beginning of a movement that we stand up to the DOT and demand a light and not just what has been called for in the past. So with that, I'll let the people that have joined us today speak. Thank you.
Steve, may I summarize what we ended up last time that we brought this up?
I think you can, Ed, but Peter's also going to talk about that, but you go ahead, Ed.
Okay, because we have been through this and the DOT has their numbers, and they look at it and say it doesn't rise to the level of needing it. There are a couple of problems with their numbers. One, as Lee pointed out, 100% of those drivers, or nearly, are inexperienced. The other is that when they're figuring the number of accidents per year, they're dividing by 365 for a building that's only open 180 days a year and only busy 20 minutes a day. So they do have a problem with their numbers, but they're sticking with their numbers. They did agree to the dynamic speed sign. They also recommended an internal road, which I assume Dr. Dillon will talk about, down to Monument Valley Road, which is already signaled. And Chief Storty came up with a plan to relieve congestion using the Muddy Brook parking lot for the drop-off. But finally, I want to say that placing an officer in the middle of a 50-mile-an-hour highway is also an incredibly dangerous thing to do. And I just want to acknowledge that. And now I'll turn over to Peter.
Am I able to speak? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So, between the two of you, I agree with what you're saying, and you've really covered it all. So I'll just try to add a couple more things. To my knowledge, this has been a concern for 3 or more decades. Our primary contact at the Lenox office of the DOT is Francesca Hemming. We've met with her several times. I've met with her. Steve Bannon has. Steve Soul has. Ed has. And at different points, Adam Hines, Ben Downing, and Smitty Pignatelli have all joined in on those conversations. Ed summarizes their response to this, which is that the numbers at the intersection in their mind don't justify a grave enough concern to install a light. They did do a couple things since the last, there was this accident this year. The last major one before that was 5 years ago. Out of that accident, we then were able to get the DOT's help in Great Barrington installing the 2 flashing lights on either side of the school with the reduction. And the markings on the roadway itself that listed as a school crossing. In the Tenuta's letter, the reference to the speed limit there being advisory is accurate. So it encourages folks to slow down, but we learned that from a ticketing perspective, it would be hard to convict somebody for going faster than 35 miles an hour. There. Historically, the Great Barrington Police Department covered the exit of the buses in the morning, and now Chief, but then whatever his previous role was, Officer Storty helped us come up with the plan. So the drop off is in the Muddy Brook parking lot, and kids walk up. That's helped make it easier for the buses to get out in the morning. In the afternoon, the Stockbridge Police Department covers exiting, and they've done a really good job. I share concerns, and this was one of Chief Walsh's concerns. Having a police officer out in the middle of a busy highway is less than ideal, and that puts that officer at risk. So in many ways, a light would be a good thing because it would also free up a Stockbridge officer in the afternoon to cover other duties. There've been a number of small accidents and near misses. In response to this most recent one, Paul Cakeley, our video instructor, and Peter Falkowski made an instructional video to try to remind students. But for an inexperienced driver, pulling out south onto 7 from that intersection is hard, because if there's a car coming in and turning into the Monument driveway, it effectively shields the car behind it or to its side. And for an inexperienced driver, they don't get the timing right, and often they don't see the second car. The only other thing, the last formal recommendation of the DOT is that we create an internal driveway in Monument down to Monument Valley Road. When we last looked at the cost of it, we thought it to be over $1 million, and that would likely need to be built into a bigger high school project, and does not make sense to be a standalone project. It's my understanding that in some other communities, they have pushed for lights. I think one of the things that's working against us is the general concern about slowing down traffic on a major highway. And ironically, the reason we want a light is to slow down traffic on a major highway, because it's unsafe. So I'm happy to respond to any questions if folks have them. I think it's time to set up another meeting. I would also suggest, in addition to enlisting Smitty and Adam's help, we should go to the governor through the governor's Western Mass rep and invite that person to be at the meeting as well.
Yeah, Lee, go ahead.
Thank you, Peter. I just wanted to thank you for speaking up. And, you know, my point is that, as you know, we've gone around this block so many times, and I just feel that it is time to bring it to the governor's attention through his Western Massachusetts office, and enlist Senator Hines and Representative Smitty again to pressure the DOT to add a light. I think it's come to the point that we cannot wait for a death to catapult us into making a decision. And it's come to my attention that there's, you know, families that are so frustrated and worried about sending their kids to school for this reason, and for the fact that it could be years and years and years till we do get a designated driveway that is safer. I think it's you know, up to us to actually do something at this point. What I will say is that you know, what I'd like to suggest after we hear everyone speak is to convene a meeting that does include reps from all 3 towns and our representatives and the DOT, as well as someone from the governor's office. So I will make a motion following this discussion.
Garfield. You're muted, Garfield.
I don't know how feasible it is, but I'm wondering if it's possible for a couple things. One, if we can put a sign that's often used for construction, but school is in session, be prepared to stop. That might help. I don't know if we're going to get shut down by the DOT, but I thought maybe something way ahead on each ways might be helpful. And I was also wondering if it would be at all possible to have the officer actually at the end of the driveway, not in the middle of the road, and being able to stop and or let people out as they come out, not necessarily after they've already turned the corner to make the way out into traffic.
Thank you, Garfield. Paul, Chief Doherty, did you want to say anything?
Yes, thank you. Lee, I think Lee may have had a quick comment. So before I go.
I just have one question. Sorry. Is it the cost that the DOT is not doing it, or the fact that it slows down traffic? Do we have a cost on adding a full functioning light there, because there is already a flashing light. So I'm curious if it's.
That flashing light would have to be totally replaced. One, as I remember that from our meetings.
The number they threw out was about $250,000 for a light.
To add a light.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to get that verified, first of all, and I really want to have the DOT join us to verify that, because that sounds, incredibly high number to me.
Go ahead, Chief.
Oh, yes, sorry. So I just kind of want to reiterate a little bit what Peter Dillon had stated. It was probably approximately a year ago now, we had a meeting with several people. I proposed at that point the new drop-off plan, and it was right after break, I think, that we implemented it, and it seemed to be going real well. For the first 2 weeks, I monitored the amount of the impact that it had of reducing the amount of cars. The parent drop-off really was the biggest thing. Parents would come, they drop their children off, and then they would try to exit the school. It averaged, the low range, I think, was 85 one day. The high was 107 cars that we eliminated from pulling in and exiting during that 15-minute period, which was from 7:30 to 7:45. I know those, what Lee had said, something about discussion 8 o'clock, the school traffic pretty much was over by 10:08 at the latest. So that didn't inconvenience anybody as far as shift change went. The only people that would inconvenience would be parents that are bringing in school students late. But the buses were all exiting probably around 7:48 consistently was the last bus that left the campus. So by doing that drop off in the elementary, the north parking lot of the elementary school, we eliminated a bunch of cars that were trying to enter and exit the traffic. And I checked with the school bus company and also with the school, and everything seems to be running smoothly. We've been doing this off and on, with the COVID a little bit. We haven't been so consistent with school being in session, but for the last year, that's worked pretty well. The issue that came up recently was due to early drop-off, where we didn't have somebody, it was that early dismissal day, that Wednesday. Since that day, we have addressed that issue. I talked to Peter Bukowski, and we came up with a plan to get us through the rest of the school year, where we do have an officer up there. My ideal plan is not to have an officer there. It is very dangerous. I did it for 15 years, and I can't tell you how many near misses we had to jump out of the way of traffic. Logistically, if you're doing it, you can't. Either way, you're going to have to get out into the roadway. So if you stand at the entrance, you're still going to have to step in that roadway to get the vehicles to stop just to see you. And we have no protection when we're standing there. It's, at least if there's an accident, people are in a vehicle, hopefully they're seat belted and they have some protection, and hopefully they're going at a slower speed. So I want to get away from as much as we can of putting an officer out there. I just don't think it's the safest thing. And again, that's just an accident waiting to happen. We've had so many near misses. One thing I did propose last year also, and when we've identified that the majority of the accidents are due to inexperienced operators of vehicles. What some schools do is they either have a designated spot for younger drivers, inexperienced drivers to park, or they don't allow them to drive to school. They consider it a privilege, and some schools do limit that. So if we're identifying that the inexperienced operators, it's too dangerous to allow them to pull out. In the meantime, as an idea to think about until we can get a permanent fix is maybe we should consider not allowing them or have them park at a different lot that's safer, where they can exit where there is a traffic light.
Thank you, Chief. Peter and then Lee.
Yes, sorry. One thing that I think it's important when we talk about the light is having a light on some sort of indicator is important. In the case of this recent accident, it wasn't during a regular dismissal time. It wasn't even during the early dismissal, right? My understanding is the students had an appointment and had to leave early for that appointment. So it would be great is if we do a light that there's some indicator when there's a car in the queue ready to leave, then it trips something and then the light is activated. Because in the course of the day, dismissals not just at 2:45 or 3, it could be a whole host of different times. So having some automatic tripper that would get the light, the hopeful light to be activated would be really important.
Lee, go ahead. Thank you, Peter.
Yes, I absolutely agree, Peter. Thank you for that. That was one of the requests I wanted to put in. And thank you, Chief Storty, for taking the initiative of the drop-off at Muddy Brook. One of the issues I've seen having two children currently at Monument High School is that we have so many after-school programs and events after school that are in addition to school, that you do have a lot of students needing to drive themselves and that are coming out of the school, not necessarily right after the buses. So what I've seen in my experience is the detail will be there for the buses, and then as soon as the buses leave, then they're gone, and then there's still 30 students or so lined up to get out. And that really puts so much pressure on those students as well as parents trying to move out. So I really think that, you know, we've kind of done Band-Aids up until this point, and I think we need to be serious because it's come to the point that there's going to be a death, and it's going to be on all our hands. It's going to be on everyone that's in this room right now. So I think we need to put it to the DOT. I think we need to go out for bid and see how much this light is actually going to cost in real terms, and suggest different, ways to activate the lights so it's not constantly holding up traffic. But I really think that we need some concrete steps, and I really call on our representatives to take the lead and to convene a meeting with the governor's office.
Next one to speak is Francesca Hemming. Go ahead, Francesca. Just unmute yourself.
Okay. So good evening, everyone. Francisca Hemming, Mass DOT District 1 Highway Director. I'm joined here also by my traffic engineer, the district traffic engineer, Pat Turney. So I do want to, going back to a little bit to the history, thank you everyone that brought it up. But as mentioned before, I don't know about, a lot of what happened 20 years ago, but since 2016, we did some study. We did some recommendations for the driveway. My understanding is that the school also had for San O'Neill doing a study prior to that in 2006. And we are very strong with the fact that the driveway for the school needs to be relocated. However, at that time in 2016, we also allowed the permit for the advisory speed sign. So that was placed, and since God, it's only one incident that had happened. But moving forward, regarding the signal that Ms. Davis brought up, that location doesn't need a traffic signal. There is not an engineering weight background to justify it. And that came out from two different studies, one done by the school, one done by Mass DOT. The driveway relocation and the new drop-off measure in the school, which we actually reviewed too, which is great and is working good, and that is something very, very positive. And because I did had, when you say the state representative to take it over, the next day of that crash, Smitty got in the phone a couple times with DOT. And we did look at some other options, but the option that we were looking at was some type of signage that relates to what Peter was mentioning, that we can put something that is called, we look into this technology. This is something new, has never been done in Massachusetts. It's called an intersection collision warning system. What it does is a system that works by using a radar to detect vehicles that is coming to the intersection approaching. So it will be like a stop sign at the driveway. And that stop sign will blink when a vehicle is coming, and will also let the vehicle in the main drag knows that there is somebody trying to approach the intersection. We did look into that, but this is something new. This is new technology. This needs to be designed, and it has not been installed in Massachusetts. So the signal, it doesn't warrant, is off the table for now. We can actually discuss this new technology, and we can have further discussions, looking for other options. that we can do at the district, but what I've seen from different studies is that we don't meet signal warrants, and we have the MUTCD that we have to govern by, and the MUTCD say that we don't meet warrants to install a signal over there.
Thank you, Francesca. Lee.
Thank you. A couple things. When you say this does not warrant a stoplight,
doesn't meet warrants.
Oh, it doesn't. Excuse me.
The signal, like when you design a signal and you put a traffic signal for the red, yellow, green, you got warrants that are guided by the Manual of Uniform Traffic Devices. You got to meet certain traffic thresholds. And we don't meet it in this location at the intersection. And that was done by the study of Foss and O'Neill, and it was done by the study of Mass DOT. So that's the reason why historically, during all those years that the signal has been requested, it has not been installed.
Okay, so my follow-up question is, if there's a death, will that warrant a traffic light?
Not necessarily.
So at what point do you actually listen, you look beyond the statistics and the numbers and the thresholds and look at the people that are actually driving, that are risking their life every single day coming out of the intersection? When do you stop being
we'll be listening as we have always been. For instance, we allow the town to install with the permit an advisory speed. And if the people are looking at that speed and they continue going at a higher speed, changing people behavior, a signal is not going to change people behavior. I can tell you that. That's why people run signals. And that's why in both studies, the relocation of the driveway was found to be the best alternative. People run signals. There is a lot of crashes at signalized intersection. That's not going to change if people are running something. My suggestion is, like as I mentioned, we spent this week studying and looking for options. We found this system that DOT we can try to install and design and provide assistance with this. It's not something that the town will have to do.
So what is the difference between the cost of this new technology and a real traffic light? Is it the cost that is saying that you can't do this? I don't understand how you would be willing to install new technology but not look.
This technology is just a sign. It has not been done. It's a stop sign at the driveway that is going to blink when somebody stops, and will let them know that a vehicle is coming.
What can the town?
An additional warning that the students will have before getting into the main road.
Okay. Is it the cost that is the barrier if the town wants to take it upon themselves with the two other towns in question? Is that something the town can take on?
What are you asking for the town to take on? The sign or the signal?
The signal.
We won't allow the signal. It doesn't meet warrants. We won't approve it.
If the signal at Monument.
We have engineering.
Okay, a follow-up question, let someone else speak. Is it because the Monument Valley light is too close to this light? Is that the issue?
The issue is that driveway does not meet the threshold to warrant the signal. And I can defer to Pat. Pat, are you there?
Yeah, I've got him on.
Yeah, I just unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, these discussions that have been going on, for 40 years now or longer, it's never been about the expense. It has nothing to do with the proximity of the existing traffic signal. What Fran's been saying is it just simply does not meet the accepted signal warrants that, to put a traffic signal in. That's the only reason where, it has nothing to do with not wanting to slow down traffic on Route 7. It's just simply there's not enough traffic in and out of that driveway to warrant a traffic signal. And, that's been our point. whether it was paid for by the school district or the towns or the Commonwealth. We don't, at all costs, we want to put in unwarranted traffic signals. So that's, I don't know if that answered the question, but, or clarified that, but.
So Patrick, following up on that, is it not that we can make it seasonal during the school year and have it on during certain hours that we at least have?
Yeah, so if we put a signal there, or if the signal's put at that intersection, it would run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We don't flash traffic signals in off-peak times anymore at Mass DOT. So some cities and towns still do. We do not. It would have full detection so that it would only stop traffic on Route 7 when somebody's coming out of, the high school. So there's, it would be a full traffic signal if that was, we went down that road. So, again, the issue has always been, it just does not meet those warrants. And again, we don't like to set that precedent because, there are a lot of driveways where, in intersections where, people tend to have the, assumption that a traffic signal is the best solution. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Just one question. Is there an example that you have exception to this rule?
I'm sorry, I think my mic was, I didn't hear that clearly. Let me just mute myself.
Is there an example of an exception that you have made to your rule of a warrant, of a signal not warranting a traffic signal? Is there another town that you've made an exception?
Not that I've been involved with, but I can almost guarantee you that it's happened in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and across the U.S. Sometimes other factors do get involved, but, since I've been, in the role I play, we've been pretty firm about wherever we put a new traffic signal to make sure that it meets the warrants. But, again, I'm sure it's happened.
Chief Storty, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. That's kind of what I was going to build off. The warrants are there. They're a guideline to, Pat, I believe, to kind of give you some guidance on what qualifies and justifies the ability to do a project or to add a light, say for this example. But you have to really take a step back and look at each situation, each road, each intersection. The facts and circumstances are different. And when we look at this has been an ongoing issue for many, many years. I've been to, I can't tell you how many meetings. And if you look at this, you really have to these are unique situations or unique facts that you can't just blanketly cover your warrant and say, well, this doesn't meet that criteria. We've been here, we've talked and talked, and here we are again. Another year later, we're back at the table. So again, I understand the warrant, but it's not black and white. There should be some gray area. You should be able to analyze this for what it is, where it is, the situation, and how it affects the community. That's all. Thank you.
Yeah, Garfield.
Yes, I understand from Francesca saying that one of the best alternatives was for a new road, if you will, replacing that. Is the state going to fund that, or the grants we can get to do that? It's about $1 million.
No, we wouldn't fund that. That was part of one of the studies that we did at DOT to give suggestions to the school on how to provide a different access.
Did you say you would not fund that?
No, we wouldn't fund.
Yeah. Peter Dillon, go ahead.
Yeah, I would go back to Lee's suggestion around trying to exert political pressure to make this happen. It's clear it doesn't fit within the guidelines. I think perhaps those guidelines might be interpreted differently if our delegation and the governor's office were unified in their approach. I understand it puts the DOT in a tough position by setting a precedent, and it opens the door for other communities to do it. But this has been a long-standing enough issue that may be our last recourse. The other thing that would be wonderful is if we hear from the MSBA in November or December and address it in the context of a renovation or a new high school.
Because we have a full meeting ahead of us and this meeting isn't dedicated to this, Lee, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah, thank you. I'd like to make a motion that the select board ask the town manager to convene a meeting as soon as possible to discuss the installation of a traffic light on Stockbridge Road near the entrance of Monument Mountain High School, and invite the superintendent, representatives from all three towns, a representative from the governor's office, Senator Hines, Representative Pignatelli, representatives from the Mass DOT, and a representative of the DPW and a representative of the Great Barrington Police Department, as well as 2 members of the Great Barrington Select Board.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Steve, could I raise something?
Yes, you may.
Because Lee, might you consider amending your motion to include law enforcement from Stockbridge and West Stockbridge? They're both regularly involved in this, and having them at the table could be helpful.
Absolutely. Thank you. I amend my motion to take on board Peter's suggestion of inviting the representatives from the from the select board, from the West Stockbridge Police Department and the Stockbridge Police Department.
Ed, are you okay with that?
Amend my second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. It's a roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
It's a unanimous vote. I vote aye. Thank you, everyone, for participating. This was a helpful discussion, and it will continue. Smitty, did you want to say something?
And, oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, yeah. I spoke to the Lieutenant Governor about this very issue. They're working with the MMA as we speak. So I would encourage you, if you like that hybrid version of this, I think they're going to make you go back to meet live and in person as a board, but that hybrid version might be available to the residents as well. But they're working with MMA right now to draft some legislation. So I would encourage you to maybe weigh in with the MMA on what ideally would work for Great Barrington. Your option has worked very well and very nicely with most communities, and the participation of the citizenry has increased dramatically with this Zoom option availability. So they're working on it, and probably sometime over the summer we'll be seeing some legislation about that. So I would just encourage you to weigh in with the MMA.
We will do that.
All right, thank you very much.
Lee.
I had a question, Representative Pignatelli, in terms of how this affects this particular intersection and the time sensitivity of what we're speaking about. Can you speak to this, please?
About the meeting?
No, about how this will affect this intersection, the request that we have a light there and not go down the route of having this piece of equipment that's being tested. Is that what you're referring to?
No, I just learned about that new technology earlier today. It's kind of intriguing, but a full-blown intersection with the pressure you're trying to put on the governor and everybody else, there's going to be a lot of engineering involved, probably some road improvements, road markings, and then the installation. You saw how long it took us to get the flashing lights going once we get everybody on board with that. So it's going to take some time, and I think there's some other options we should be looking at and not waiting for the full-blown intersection. Lee, you had talked about the last accident was the person turning into the school didn't see the cars behind them. I'm just curious if we can make a deeper and longer turning lane going into the school coming from the north that would increase the sight distance tremendously. I think Garfield talked about the officer at the end of the driveway. I think Chief Story's got some legitimate concerns about that as well. And then the other thing I was curious about, and I don't know if Francesca's on the phone still, I'd be willing to bet you $250,000 for a full-blown intersection is going to be kind of cheap. I bet it's going to be more expensive than that. But is there a trip mechanism at the Monument driveway that would signal the Monument Valley Road signal to turn red? And then the sight lines are increased for the person coming out, and then you can work with the light that's 200 yards down the road. And then and when we're getting ready to build a new school, which Peter has already said he wants to build a new driveway, I just don't want to put good money after bad if we have a good long-term permanent solution with a long-term better access driveway down the line. So I'm going to do whatever you guys want me to do, but I think there's some options we need to flush out that I'll pick up on your word, Lee, about a Band-Aid, but maybe a couple more Band-Aids will avoid an accident until we come up with a permanent solution.
Thank you, Smitty. We have to move on, Lee. So just quickly, Lee, go ahead.
No, if we could pursue both options, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
I agree with that. Yep.
Anyone else before I move on? Okay, next on the agenda, we're still in town manager's report. I stole that. I don't want your job, don't worry.
Okay, I have a few more updates to provide tonight. Next on my list is Housatonic Water Works, and just wanted to again remind everyone that our two engineering firms, AECOM and DPC, are still working hard to complete their reports, and they should be at a June meeting, probably late June. I'm thinking our June 21st meeting to present their findings. Lastly, I just wanted to remind Housatonic residents, I know they're experiencing discolored water again, and this is likely due to flushing. And I wanted to just encourage folks to not only reach out to the town and the state, but also reach out to Housatonic Water Works. They need to hear from you, so please reach out to them as well. Next on my list is the annual town meeting. This is my last opportunity to remind everyone that June 7th, Monday, June 7th, is our annual town meeting. We do have a backup date scheduled for June 10th, that Thursday, if we need to use it. Transportation will be available. This is the first time we've ever been able to actually provide transportation, not only to our elderly residents and our disabled residents, but we'll also have a van running for anyone and everyone that needs a ride to and from town meetings. So just reach out and let us know. Call our senior center, 528-1881, and we'll get you hooked up for the ride. We will not be having childcare this year at annual town meeting with COVID still lingering. We thought it was probably not a good idea, but please bring your children with you. You're welcome to bring them, and children can hang with their parents during town meeting. We're continuing our drive-in style meeting this year outdoors in the parking lot. But I would like to hear from the board now that technically an inside meeting is allowable. Do you still want to proceed with an outdoor meeting?
So, I'll give my opinion first, which is unusual. I think we planned it. I think it's, for many people, more comfortable to be outdoors. I think was successful last year. And I think we continue with that for this season, and then we reassess after that. But I'm in favor of outdoors still. Any board members who have any other comment?
I agree.
I have a comment. Go ahead. You can go ahead first, Ed.
No, he just said he agreed.
I agree.
Oh. Well, I think outdoors is a good idea, but I think if we're inside, we have a better way of controlling who's going to be there. And when we had some difficulty when it was outside, as far as knowing how many people were still there, having the quorum correct. And I think if we're inside, you're going to have a better handle on it. You'll be able to see empty seats easier. And I think I like the outdoor idea, but I think indoors gives us a better shot at controlling the amount of people that we need to have there. That's my thought.
Thank you, Garfield. Do you have a motion?
I make a motion that the select board go ahead with the outdoor annual town meeting.
Second.
Discussion. Roll call vote. Garfield.
I'm going to say nay for right now.
Okay, that's fine. Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And it's aye, so it passes 4-1. So Mark will continue with the outdoor planning.
Great, thank you. And Garfield, just to address your concern about being able to count folks at the annual town meeting outdoors. One way we're trying to resolve that this year is not have cars parked in that lot, the far lot, unless we absolutely have to. So we'll close that section off and just have everyone park in the first lot unless we need that overflow parking. So it may help.
Good.
Next on my list, and thank you for the vote on that. Next on my list is the outdoor dining program, and you are probably well aware that we are proceeding now with outdoor dining for Memorial Day weekend. And I just wanted to take one more opportunity to announce it publicly. We'll begin that weekend, all 3 nights on holiday weekends. So Memorial Day weekend, Independence Day weekend, and also Labor Day weekend. We'll do all 3 nights. Otherwise, it will be strictly Friday and Saturday evenings. We have roughly 8 restaurants participating on Railroad Street alone, and then several others participating with their own private patio spaces. The scheduled start time at this point is 6 p.m., same as last year, but I would like to ask the board to come down on a closing time for Railroad Street. I would suggest, since our starting time is 6 p.m., that we either choose 5 p.m. or 5:30, but keep in mind that we do need enough time to remove vehicles, tow vehicles out of the way if they remain beyond the 5 o'clock or 5:30 time.
Mark, as I recall last year, we moved it to 5:30. Am I correct?
Originally, we started at 4 o'clock and then we moved it to 5 o'clock.
Does 5:30 give you enough time to set up?
I think that would be adequate. We could give it a try. It's very rare that we have to tow a car, but it does happen from time to time. And I would say the range to get a car, to get a tow truck there and to get a car removed is somewhere between about 20 and 45 minutes, 20 being best case scenario and 45 delaying outdoor dining by a few minutes.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the shutting down of Railroad Street at 5:30 p.m.
Second.
We have a motion by Lee, a second by Ed. Any other discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And I. And Mark, you can always come back to us if that doesn't work out. So it's a unanimous vote.
And just a quick thank you, Mark. You have done an amazing job with this, making it happen quickly. So thank you.
Thanks.
You had help.
It's been a team effort for sure. Staff's done a really excellent job pulling this off.
And I must say that you're involving the school participation with the planning is very exciting for, I think, both the school and the town. I think that's a terrific addition.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to partnering with the school district and being able to display the students' skills right on Railroad Street in downtown Great Barrington. It's exciting.
Yeah.
And Mark, thank you. And I'm sure the businesses on Railroad will thank the town for delaying the closing of Railroad Street, because I know there were some issues about that. So thank
I
you.
think the retailers will be very excited about 5:30 p.m. And if it does become a problem, I'll circle back and we'll reevaluate at that time.
Thank you.
Next on my list is Memorial Day and Memorial Day events. I just wanted to, again, I mentioned this at the last meeting, but remind everyone that there will not be a parade this year. That's not a town decision. So I just want to be clear. This was a decision made by our local veteran organizations. We will, however, install some American flags to honor our veterans on Main Street. So you'll see those going up very soon, and they'll remain in place through July 4th weekend. Next up is the Housatonic Main Street road repairs. Anyone living or visiting the village has probably noticed that there's a section of Main Street in Housatonic that needs repairs. That's from a winter water main break that damaged a section of that road a few months back. Paving contractors visited last week to size up the project, and you can expect to see repairs happening there in about 2 weeks. And then last item on my list is Lake Mansfield road updates, and I'm going to ask Chris Rembold to take this one.
Oh, sure. Thanks, Mark. Folks who have been out to Lake Mansfield in the last few days or may have seen emails already are aware of this, but the Lake Mansfield Improvement Task Force has begun its public outreach phase for the new designs for the future improved Lake Mansfield roadway. I'll just remind you all that pursuant to a select board vote a few years ago, the road will eventually be closed permanently between the boat launch and the beach to vehicular traffic, except for utilities and for emergencies. And that section of road between the boat launch and the beach will be a recreation-only path. It'll be about 12 feet wide in most places, a little bit wider in other places to allow for access to some residences. If you imagine the road as it is right now, with the delineators and a kind of a walking lane and a driving lane, the driving lane is about 12 to 13 feet. So that would be about the width of the future recreation path. And a lot of what is now the recreation lane along the lake edge, much of that will become a natural reinforced lake edge, revegetated areas for fishing, benches for sitting and enjoying the lake. The parking lot at the north end will be improved for handicap accessibility, stormwater improvements, as well as to accommodate overflow parking. It won't be significantly expanded. It won't be reduced in size. And then at the far end, at the north end, where there will still be two-way traffic in from Christian Hill to the beach area, we'll do some repairs on the outlet structure, which drains Lake Mansfield. So I hope you can all go, and folks who are listening, you can all go to lakemansfieldgb.org, where you can kind of do a virtual walking tour of the improvements. There's a survey you can take. If you go out on site, it's been some beautiful weather, you can walk the lake road, and we have signs up showing you what the new recreation path will look like. Now, we are early in the design process, but keep in mind, even though the road right now looks nice, that is not the permanent solution. And because of the compromised, very waterlogged subbase of that road, it will break up over time. And the permanent solution is this recreation path. So I hope everybody has a chance to look at the designs, comment if they feel like it. And then in a month or two, we're going to move ahead to a more detailed engineering phase. So thanks very much.
Chris, can I just ask one question? One of the discussions we had early on was about grants. So where are we with funding for this?
So we're still early in the design phase. We want to do this community outreach, community sort of education process first before we move into a more detailed engineering phase. That detailed phase will give us, more detailed plans, specifications, and estimates. At that point, we'll know just how much we need to ask for. So I'm hoping that about by the end of the calendar year, we'll have a good idea of what the costs might be, and that then we can start applying for grants. But you'll see the current situation, this one lane road situation will remain there for another about 2 years before we can secure all the grants and other funding necessary for construction.
Thank you, Chris. Anyone else? Thank you very much, Chris. Appreciate it. Mark, anything else?
No, that's it. Thanks, Steve.
Okay.
Mark, was there a comment about reeds? I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, if you could provide an update. Unfortunately, we had already drafted the agenda at that time, but if you want to take this opportunity, that would be great.
Oh, just briefly, as I reported to this board a few months ago, EPA stepped in with their emergency response disposal unit to do additional remediation at Reed Cleaners. They're just about done with that work. They're excavating the soil from behind the existing building now. And they should be pretty much done by the end of the week. So they have the contaminated soils removed and the site backfilled. After they issue their report, we will know more as to how we should best use the EPA grant that we have to hopefully complete remediation of the site. Meantime, EPA is granting us some technical assistance with some experts who are doing a market and feasibility analysis of the site for future reuse.
Thank you, Chris. So we move on to the licenses and permits. I see one hand up. Garfield? You're muted, Garfield.
And it's not up, Steve.
Okay, thank you. Kind of halfway through the meeting or so, we had 7 panelists and 36 attendees. Licenses and permits. If you're in the audience and want to speak, raise your hand while I read off the license and permits. If not, we will move ahead with it. If we have questions, we'll look for you. So first one is Jeff Caminiti, 20 Railroad, for an annual weekday entertainment license. I see Jeff there.
Yes, I'm here.
Go right ahead.
Would you like me to explain what I'd like to do?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, sure. At one point, we put up a tent behind the restaurant in what was previously the parking area for 20 Railroad, and with the intentions of putting some entertainment back there. With the advent of Richard Stanley opening up the theater, we did some sound tests, and we're planning on putting under the tent mostly solo and duets, and maybe some other type of entertainment, and no large scale bands with large amplification. The problem is the sound bleeds into the theater, and that would affect Mr. Stanley's situation, and we don't want to do that. So we came up with the idea of having entertainment in the restaurant, either solo or duets, and most likely would be after dinner hours, after 7:30 or 8, possibly around 10 in the evening. And we also want to see if we can attract some poetry readings or some other form of narrative entertainment. So that was the plan, to do that. And in the alley as well, where we have some tables for our pizza restaurant, we want to be able to entertain people. We actually plan on putting some Italian music among some folk music and some other types of talented kids that are going to come perform at the Busk. And both Gene Carr and I are working out a plan to feed these buskers and to also give them a place to unite and talk. And then we may be asking a busker to come into the restaurant and show us what they can do. So that's pretty much the plan for the summer. As we move forward into other seasons, I have a feeling there will be a list of talent that we will draw from, and possibly on different nights we'll feature their skills. Not in a big way, but in a more subtle, like I said, either solo or duets. And that's pretty much it.
Thank you, Jeff. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the select board approve an annual weekday entertainment license to applicant Jeff Caminiti of 20 Railroad Street.
Second.
So I have a motion by Lee, a second by Ed. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye. It's unanimous. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Rick Abdallah, bogeys for 2 temporary Sunday entertainment licenses for June 27th, 2021, and rain date June July 11th, 2021, and September 26th, 2021. Rain date, October 3rd, 2021. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the select board approve 2 temporary Sunday entertainment licenses to applicant Rick Bogies Restaurant for the dates of June 27th, 2021 and September 26th, 2021, with rain dates July 11th, 2021 and October 3rd, 2021.
Do I have a second?
Can I add a couple of conditions to that?
You may if Lee wants you to, or you can do an amendment.
Just that they comply with the temporary sign bylaw and seek the input from the building inspector to know what it is. And they comply with any state COVID limits or recommendations if there are any at that time. Is that okay?
Are you okay with adding that?
Yes, I'll move that we take that as amended.
And okay, so motion and second. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Tiffany Riva, Railroad Street Youth Project for a temporary weekday entertainment license for Thursday, July 15th, 2021, from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Is there someone on the line? I thought I saw someone from Railroad Street Youth. Yes.
Hi there. I'm here, Tiffany Riva.
Just a brief explanation of what you're doing.
Absolutely. Railroad Street has worked with a couple of local filmmakers, and we've created a 20-minute-ish film that we will be using through the summer. We will have 5 small events. We would like to use the gazebo and Town Hall Park for one of these events. We expect about 20 to 25 people at most. We need the sound permit to show the film under the gazebo and liquor permit to be able to serve beer and wine at the town parks and rec meeting. It was suggested that we use wristbands for all invited guests over the age of 21 so that we can clearly distinguish who is who can be served, and also a safe serve or tips certified bartender, which is absolutely no problem at all.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the select board approve a temporary weekday license to applicant Tiffany Riva of Railroad Street Youth Project for the date of Thursday, July 15th, 2021 from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Can I add the same 2 conditions? Yeah, second.
So that's with 2 conditions added, which is about temporary signage and about COVID precautions if they apply. So I have a motion by Lee, a second by Ed. Any discussion?
Steve, she mentioned a beer and wine license.
That'll be the next one.
That'll be next. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no, that's the next one. She put all those together to make it easier. She doesn't have to go over this again. Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous. Next is, as Lee alluded to, Tiffany Riva, Railroad Street Youth Project for a one-day beer and wine license for Thursday, July 15th, 2021 from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. Lee, do you want to make a motion or do you want to ask a question?
No, I'm okay. I make a motion, select board approve a temporary wine and beer license to applicant Tiffany Riva of Railroad Street Youth Project for the date of Thursday, July 15th, 2021 from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m.
Second.
Discussion.
I just want to know, I'm curious, is everyone that will be serving, will they be old enough to serve and make sure that they're legal to serve? Wine?
Yes. Yes, they will be old enough and legal to serve. They'll be safe serve certified or tips certified. I'm not sure if there's a difference between the two, but we'll be sure to make sure that the bartender is appropriate.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And aye, it's unanimous.
Thank
Next
you for your time.
Thank you very much, Tiffany. Next is one of our own, Eugene Carr Virtual Bus, which is a town-sponsored event, a temporary event license for multiple locations and date. Mr. Carr, do you want to give a very brief overview, since I think you've done that already?
Yeah, sure. Nice to see you, and nice to see the new members. As many of you know, I was here in February presenting an idea for a summer-long street art and music festival to take place on the early evenings of Friday night and Saturday night between July 2nd, Friday, and Saturday, September 4th. We had a remarkably strong town outpouring of support for the project. I've got 28 town companies and organizations as financial sponsors. I'm partnering with the nonprofit center of the Berkshires as a principal sponsor, and also the downtown cultural district. We put out the word to performers, which are typically known as buskers. And as of today, we've gotten 106 applications from mostly in the area, and we're in the process of scheduling. So that brings me to the point of this meeting, which is that we're trying to, for the first time, we've identified what we think are the most possible locations of where these groups can set up, which won't create any kind of traffic flow or won't disrupt the sidewalk. I'll just say that we obviously are not going to get it perfectly in the first weekend. I'm sure that we will adjust as the summer goes on so that we get the right balance of people walking by and performers being able to perform. And obviously, to Ed's point, we always wanted to adhere to whatever COVID restrictions are in place. Thankfully, they're kind of getting looser, but we're going to definitely have a way of indicating how to separate the performers from the public. So that is, I think, the quick overview. Please let me know if I've left anything out.
I think that's really good. Thank you. Lee, do you want to make a motion?
I make a motion that the select board approve a temporary event license for multiple locations and date to applicant Eugene Parr of Berkshire Bus with the fee waived because it's a town-sponsored event.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Roll call. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And I. Thank you very much. This is going to be an exciting summer on Main Street and all of Great Barrington. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your support. Appreciate it.
Janice Lucy of Berkshire South Regional Community Center for a one-day beer and wine license for Saturday, June 26, 2021, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Do we have a brief explanation of the project?
Sure thing. Hi, this is Jacqueline Sine. I'm here on behalf of Berkshire South, so not Janice. On June 26th from 11 to 4, we're hoping to host a welcome summer festival, which is an opportunity to see our friends and neighbors that we've been missing and to also welcome new residents to our community. So part of that event will feature nonprofit booths where nonprofits can sort of register to have a presence on our property, and we'll have events. Then we will host our own events from ages, birth till senior citizens. We'll have a food truck, music, I believe I said photo booth, and hopefully 2 brewers present. So we have Wandering Star and Bright Ideas that have committed to the event. I believe I submitted their TIPS certification and the insurance liability.
Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the select board approve a one-day beer and wine license to applicant Janice Lucy of the Berkshire South Regional Community Center for the date of Saturday, June 26, 2021, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Second.
A motion by Lee, a second by Ed. Any discussion?
Well, they will probably have to do the COVID as well, restrictions, et cetera, right? They didn't mention that, but.
Yes, they will, Garfield. That's correct.
Okay.
Great. Thank you very much.
Let us vote first before you thank us.
Oh, sorry.
Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee. And I. It's unanimous, and thank you very much.
Can I ask if appropriate, should the town have a table there?
We would love the town to have a table there.
Talk to Mark. Mark, if you need volunteers, ask.
Take care.
Thank you very much. Public hearings. Julian Bazalian for alteration of premises of their wine malt license at 684 South Main Street. Do you have a motion to open the public hearing?
I make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second?
Second, sorry.
Roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee?
Aye.
And I. Do I have an explanation of the project, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Basically, we are finding our indoor space quite limited in space and seating accommodation. So we're trying to shift people who are actually eating on the premises outside at the moment, and going forward, we're trying to shift the alcoholic beverage on the outside. That will free us from, sitting people on the inside and focus more on the sales of cheese and other items that we do inside, and properly address the customers who decide to have lunch on the outside. I just want to say also that alcohol is limited to wine and beer, and because it's lunch, our customers do not drink that much. So we're not talking about huge volume here. We're talking about very light serving. And among the staff, 3 of our staff members have the TIP certified certificate. So we are prepared for it.
Thank you. Any questions before we close the public hearing? A motion to close the public hearing.
Did you want to ask if anyone wants to speak in favor or against?
Yeah, it wasn't on there. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak in favor or against? Just raise your hand if you do. Motion to close the public hearing.
I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee. And I. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the select board approve applicant Julian Bazalian's request of an alteration of premises of their wine and malt license at 684 South Main Street.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Hearing.
Steve, I got a quick question. So they basically, they have this beer and wine license now. They're just looking to move it so they can sit outside and enjoy their beverages.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yes.
We,
Okay, thank you.
we actually have the license to serve inside and outside, and we would like to shift everything outside.
Just wanted to make sure.
Any other questions? No, that's good.
I do have a question, and actually a question, I don't know if it's appropriate at this moment, but I'm curious to know, will there be any police presence, or how will these people get a hold of someone if something goes out of hand or out of control? What's the access to someone keeping things under control?
So Garfield, I can answer that. We have many outdoor licenses, and it's self-policing by the owners of the license. If there is any problems, the police are always available to come. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Ed.
Aye.
Lee.
Aye.
And I. It's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you indeed. Thank you.
New business. Tax increment financing agreement transfer for 20 Castle Street. Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
Yes, I just wanted to state that I filled out a disclosure form today. I have, for 20 Castle Street, I've worked for the owner at his residence in the past, doing electrical upgrades and repairs. So I will not be working at 20 Castle Street, but I have worked for this applicant in the past.
So just for everyone's familiar, Eric's disclosing a possible problem, but he is not recusing himself because he doesn't have to. There's no need for him to recuse himself. Am I wording that correctly, Eric?
That is correct.
Okay. Kate McCormick, do you want to give us an explanation of the request?
Sure. For the record, Kathleen McCormick, Merton Marcus for Castle Street Firehouse LLC. Welcome, Eric and Garfield. I look forward to working with you guys as we move forward. Before we start, I just want to give a little, it gets confusing, but there's two entities we're talking about with almost the same names. So the initial owner, the prior owner, was 20 Castle Street LLC, and the current owner is Castle Street Firehouse LLC. So we're talking about the property which is located at 20 Castle Street, which is the old firehouse. So I hope I didn't confuse anybody anymore. But back in 2014, 20 Castle Street LLC, which was the previous owner, came to the board. And I believe, Steve, you were the only one that was on the board at the time that this originally went before the select board. The owner who had purchased the building from the town was before looking for a TIF and was granted a TIF in 2014. It was a TIF that lasted for 10 years. So it would go through fiscal year 2023. The purpose of the original TIF was to rehab and develop the building, including the alleyway, to create career opportunities and to do the historic restoration of the old firehouse. So the tax incentives were based on the capital investment in the property and to increase the employment. In January of 2020, the previous owner sold the building with a third-party sale to Castle Street Firehouse LLC. That's the current owner. A little while ago, we were reached out by the Commonwealth of Mass and requested a transfer of the ongoing TIF to the new owner. So we reached out and started conversations with Chris, and that's what led us here tonight. As if anybody, I would say look out the window, but we're all at our own homes now. We're not at the town hall, but you can see that quite a bit of work has been going on over the last year. The prior owner worked on the alleyway, but not a lot of investment into the actual building. The current owner is doing quite a bit of rehab to the building, doing a lot of structural repair. There was significant deterioration of the brick, so he's working on fixing that. He had to work on the gable ends, remove and replace those gable ends and the capstones, and just really shore up the structural integrity of that building. And so the real reason that we're requesting the TIF be transferred from the prior owner to the new owner is just to assist in the economics required to, rescue that building and save and restore one of Great Barrington's historic buildings. My client's not asking to enlarge at all or extend the time period for the TIF. He's just looking to take advantage of the time period that still remains on the original TIF that was granted. So it's a very short window that we're looking for. It would just maintain through 2023. And, as everybody's probably aware, the last year, all of costs have gone up a great deal, especially with rehab. It's pretty expensive anyway to work on one of these old buildings. So any help that can be given would be great. The building is going to be focused on retail, office space, and in a community event space or event space that will be open to organizations. It's pretty tough to find event space, especially downtown. And so that's one of the functions that will be ready to have available once the project is done. So that's my presentation. I'm sure there's some questions I would entertain and answer as many questions as I could.
from the board, or anyone in the audience for that matter, but from the board? Any questions?
Nope.
Seeing no questions, I think you've explained.
Sorry, I was muted.
Oh, okay. I didn't see your lips moving. Sorry.
The original TIF specifically said you need to come to us to transfer it. It's by no means automatic. I assume vocational training is no longer part of it. I guess my real question is, the work is happening, the transfer has happened. Why would the town do this? What's in it for us? Our costs have also gone up, and you're asking for an 80% waiver of real estate taxes for 2 years.
Correct. Well, we're working on the rehab, but of course, as things get more expensive, the rehab could stop at any point. So we're committed to working on the building. We're also committed to employment. It's not going to be vocational employment, but the owner of the building has a business that is available, is already participating in town, and is looking for future expansion, which would be creating additional employment and skilled employment at that level. So it would create, number one, it would, the cost of repair is definitely going to outweigh the structural value. So the community need and want of restoring the building should be looked into. And also just to have more event space for the community to use and to bring other jobs to the area. So I think all of the components are there, and they'll continue to be there as, for the next 2 years.
Why isn't there the vocational component that was listed? Why isn't that there anymore, or why won't it be there?
So that was the prior owner, 20 Castle Street LLC. There was an RFP that was presented from that entity to the town of Great Barrington when they were looking to sell the firehouse. Part of that RFP was to restore the building and to have a vocational training center in there. So that owner never did that function, never completed it, and never started the vocational program. And the current owner had no intention. That's not his mission. It was to restore the building, to make it a community asset, to bring in other job opportunities, and to eventually put it back on the tax roll once the building is fully restored.
What other jobs are you speaking of, and how many?
So it all is on expansion, but the entity that owns it is connected to Warrior Trading, which is located at the top of Railroad Street. And they're looking for future expansion from their current space into a portion of that building. The other space, we had been before the board some time ago looking to start in the back portion, the kind of old non-historic portion, to have a car dealership. It was for higher end cars, restoration of cars, sales. So that's another retail establishment that's there. And then there would be a potential another retail space and a community event space, which could be used by places like the Mahawi or other entities that would need for-profit and nonprofit that are looking to have an event presence, bring people downtown for nonprofit and for-profit events.
Okay, maybe I'm missing something, but I didn't hear any numbers about how many people may be employed by this endeavor.
Yeah, I don't have, I would be, it's still in the development stage. There's currently, multiple employees that are already being employed on Railroad Street, and it would be an expansion of that, but I can't give you a number. I'd be just guessing at that point.
Lee?
Could someone tell me how much money we're talking about with this TIF? That would be coming to the town if we didn't do this?
Mark, go ahead.
I don't have those numbers prepared for this evening.
So the thing to remember here is we're talking about 2 years. Their full real estate tax would not kick in until the building was complete. Am I correct? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
So by the time, I don't hazard a guess of how much money that is, but we're talking about such a short period of time, and the fact that we won't be forgiving much tax because their tax doesn't kick in until the building is completely done.
So you're saying that there'll be little, because the overlap, there'll be little money that we'll lose?
That's how I've looked at it when I read this. Chris or Mark can tell me if I'm wrong. I won't get offended.
We do capture value along the way, but we wouldn't have it assessed at the full value until it's completed and a certificate of occupancy has been issued.
I mean, I guess I would feel better knowing that amount before voting. I just feel like, with the town has lost so much money on this property, and we've been so generous, and nothing against the new owners, because I absolutely appreciate all the work they've put in, but I would just feel that it was better formed with a number.
I would add to that, agreeing with Garfield, that I'd love to see numbers of jobs being created. How many retail spaces would be created? I would just like it. We don't do this very often. And I imagine every developer would love to have one. And I just think we need to be very specific about why we would give it. And the benefits ought to be very clear.
I can get some more information on how many jobs could be anticipated, but I don't know if I'll have a concrete number because it's based on growth of the business occupant. I can tell you that in addition to the car space that had already been created, one retail would be added, not multiple retail. It's going to be majority office component, then the event space retail, and then the car dealership, if you will, that's in the back.
So why don't you come back to us in our next meeting, Kate, with those numbers?
Okay.
Lee?
Could I ask that someone from the town come back with approximate how much money the town would lose from extending this TIF, please?
We could probably value the building based on the building permit application.
Okay. And if there's any other strings attached by doing this, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you.
Lastly, recommendation to the planning board on the special permit application from James J. Mercer, trustee, Long Pond Road nominees, Trust, 80 Maple Avenue, Great Barrington, landowner, and Berkshire Natural Resources Council, Inc., to create a rear lot in the R2 zone off of Long Pond Road in accordance with sections 4.3 and 10.4, the Great Barrington zoning bylaw. Do I have a...
Steve, yeah.
Go right ahead, Eric.
Steve, yes, I got to disclose the appearance of conflict of interest here. I filled out a form for this as well. I have done small electrical repairs for Jim Mercer in the past, so I just wanted to disclose that.
Thank you. Do I have an explanation of the project?
Both Narayan from BNRC and Sid Smithers are in the attendee list.
Okay, I see Narayan is, and I will, and Sid.
And either Fred or Jim are on as well.
Good evening. This is Sid Smithers. I'm an attorney with Kane, Hibbert, and Myers, and we represent Berkshire Natural Resources Council, co-applicant for this rear lot special permit, for which we are seeking a select board recommendation to the special permit granting authority, which is the planning board. The purpose of this project is to have a single lot with frontage on Long Pond Road created on Round Pond. It will aggregate about 7.5 acres, and it will be connected to Long Pond Road by a 1900 foot long strip of land, which is part of the lot. The balance of the Mercer property, which is, I mischaracterized or I misdescribed it in part of my application as 325 acres, but we now know it's about 355 acres, is going to be conveyed to Berkshire Natural Resources Council, which is a land conservation organization active in the county, which in turn will be granting a perpetual conservation restriction to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Department of Fish and Game. The purpose of the project is to expand the work that Berkshire Natural Resources Council is doing on Tomball Mountain to create additional conservation land in the environs of Tomball Mountain, and to protect and keep open to the public the 355 acres and access to Round Pond. It is the purpose of Berkshire Natural Resources Council to make its properties available to the public for recreation and open space enjoyment. This project is in compliance or coherence with the town's master plan, which suggests that the town should be working more with private entities to try to expand conservation in the town and public access to conservation land. And it also satisfies the criteria under the special permit criteria, which is a finding that will have to be made by the special permit granting authority. The purpose of our appearing before you tonight is to solicit for the planning board the Board of Selectmen's recommendation on this proposal. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions from the board? Hearing none, do I have a motion?
I make a motion that the select board make a positive recommendation to the planning board on the special permit application from James J. Mercer, trustee Long Pond Road.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote. Garfield.
Aye.
Hold it. I have a hand up. Let me just. I'm going to take this because I didn't see the hand go up. I was looking. So we have a motion and a second. And Karen Sendick, briefly, please. Unmute yourself.
Hi, we're on Long Pond Road. Our name is Shirley Finkelstein. I think it's a great idea. We love hiking, everything else. Could we move the parking lot and the road back a little bit, or do it to 10 people, not 20? My parents bought this house 40 years ago, loving this property.
Let's thank you for your comment. We'll ask Sid about that. So,
I mean, yeah, we love we love it. I love that it'll be hiking trails, open to the public. But if we could move back a little bit, that'd be awesome.
There is, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
I'll try to address the comments of the speaker because I know that our land acquisition specialist, Orion Schroeder, has spoken, if not with her, with somebody familiar with her point. And we do propose off-street parking to be constructed along the existing road, which will provide access to the lot to be retained by the Mercers. There's an existing woods road there. We do intend to improve it so as to permit cars to get off of Long Pond Road and onto the property and parked on the property. Right now, our proposal is to have those parking spaces located between Long Pond Road and the outlet from Round Pond, which runs north through a culvert under the dam, and the stream then proceeds north. we propose to put our parking on the east side of that brook. We don't intend to put parking on the west side of the brook because access is more difficult and we don't think we need any parking on that side. This person requests that we move the parking to the west side of the brook exiting Round Pond, and that is not our plan. We think it is more cost effective and better property management to keep the parking as close to Long Pond Road as we can.
Wait,
Thank you.
could I ask a question?
This is not a back and forth. I'll give you one question.
I don't really understand. So is the parking lot going to be up Long Pond Road, make a left onto like our property and into the, by the dam? Where's the parking lot?
I think the time to address these, Mr. Chairman, is at the planning board, the special permit granting authority's hearing.
Thank you, Sid. We'll take up next. Thought there were two hands. Mark Cardillo. Name and address, please. Unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Name and address.
342 Long Pond. I'm right next to the dam on the lake. On this plan is the construction of a house on the west side of the lake, about 2/3 of the way down, maybe 3,000 feet from Long Pond Road. Can somebody say what this house is for? Because the argument is that this house taxes will pay for the tax when this is transferred to the Berkshire Natural Resources. Will no longer become Mercer's tax property, right? Which is quite modest in taxes. But the house that's going to be built, I don't know who's in that house, who's going to buy it, who builds it, right? But they claim that the taxes for that house, right, at the end of this road will kind of compensate for the loss of taxes to the town. Can we find out something about this house? Who's in it? Is it a private house? Is it built by a construction company or by the Berkshire Resources? We just need some information.
Mr. Chairman, Sid Smithers again. The question about real estate taxes is something I addressed in my memorandum addressed to the planning board as special permit granting authority.
Yes.
Berkshire Natural Resources Council is indeed a nonprofit. It doesn't pay real estate taxes. The parcel of land in question, the so-called rear lot that is being created, if the planning board agrees to create it, is a 7.5 acre parcel connected to Long Pond Road by a 1,900-foot long strip, not 3,000 feet. And it is a property being retained by Mr. Mercer as trustee for himself and his family. They have no present plans to build, but they want to assure themselves that they can build. And the documents that have been prepared in anticipation of them building a house there clearly is done in anticipation of eventually a house being built there, but there's no plans at the moment to do so. I tried to make the point that the real estate taxes assessed on a nice lakefront home on Round Pond would likely be equivalent to what Mr. Mercer pays in real estate taxes on the 355 acres, which is taxed at a very low rate at present. And that's all the point I was trying to make.
Thank you.
House is signed.
Sharon Shablan, name and address, please, and hopefully I didn't pronounce it too badly.
Sharon Jablon, 343 Long Pond Road. We are right in front of the lake, not on the lake, but set back. We have a variety of concerns. I've had the house for over 45 years, and we've felt secure and have had some privacy. and we have a baby and a dog, and we are concerned about what the entire project would do to our security. There's very little published about exactly what would be done, and we would love to see that. We also believe that if the parking lot, which 20 cars sounds like an awful lot, I did pass Monument Mountain parking lot the other day. 20 cars is really a lot of cars, and if you think at least 2 people per car, that could be 40 people plus walking all over the area there, and that's a concern. And, you know, I'd also like to say that if it were moved further back, I'll say that's west, then the access to the hikers, and we love the idea of hikers, they'd be more encouraged to continue to go up towards those trails. And the lake access could be put over there as well, leaving us with a modicum of privacy and security.
Thank you very much. Seeing no other hands raised, I have a motion and I have a second. Any discussion from the select board?
Could we add to the motion to ask the planning board to take the neighbors' concerns, privacy concerns into consideration?
I can amend the motion to say that.
And Ed, you'll have it. So there's a motion.
Yeah.
And a second. It's a roll call vote. Garfield?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Ed?
Aye.
Lee? Aye. And aye. It's a unanimous vote for a positive recommendation. Thank you, Sid.
Thank you, Mr.
Ryan,
Chair.
thank you very much. We will now go into citizen speak time. Dan Wojcik, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Sure. On Roger Road currently, but we also have property at 253 Long Pond Road. And I did walk the area this weekend, and I think it's an exciting project for the neighborhood. And I know while nobody likes cars parked in their backyard, I do believe that some of the traffic on the road already is part of that gun club that's across the street from those properties. And they generate quite a commotion at times. So I think that overall, this is a win-win for the town if we proceed forward with it.
Thank you. Anyone else for citizen speak? Dan Bailey?
Muted. Thanks, Steve.
Yeah.
Dan Bailey, 207 North Street in Housatonic. And I'll try to keep this under 3 minutes, just several points though. Housatonic crosswalks. I know that Great Barrington downtown has done a lot of signage, including a big flashing sign now in front of Berkshire Bank. The Housatonic crosswalks in particular on Pleasant Street are almost non-existent as a crosswalk in the sense that nobody stops, period. And those cars get moving down that road quite fast. So in the name of safety, I was wondering if we couldn't get the pedestrian crosswalk signs put back up in Housatonic. The actual cones that actually go right in the middle of the street.
Sure, we can look at that, Dan.
Thank you. Also, as chair of the Housatonic Improvement Committee, I was wondering if it would be possible to get on a, maybe possibly your next agenda, which would be June 14th, just to provide the board with some updates.
Of course.
Okay, thank you. And along those lines, as far as the TARP of the Housatonic School goes, I want to express my, how do I put it, my frustration a little bit with this board. It wasn't until our HIT meeting last Thursday that we even found out that the select board was waiting for a recommendation to do the TARP. This TARP was brought up back in February or something, I believe. And it's I think at that point, if you knew wanted us to make some sort of recommendation, it would have been nice to have known about it then So perhaps we could have gotten that TARP on here now, as opposed to bringing it to town meeting where it's most likely going to fail.
Dan, can I just, out of respect for you, I've turned off the timer. The only recommendation that I was looking for, and it may be something that I'm not aware of, is that we were thinking that you would have a recommendation about the use of the building by now. And if you did, and if the recommendation was to tear the building down, then obviously we would not spend the money on the TARP. So there may be a little bit of misinformation there, or maybe I'm just confused at this late hour of the evening.
We may both be a little confused, Steve. So I apologize. Either way, there does seem to be that there's a little bit of miscommunication. And my point is just I hope that we can make sure that there are clear lines of communications moving forward. But
absolutely.
The last point, two other quick points, and I think I'm still under my 3 minutes, would be Housatonic Waterworks. Mark, I appreciate your comments mentioning that we should continue to notify just not only the town, but Housatonic Waterworks. But we've been doing that for 10 years. 10 years. That's a long time. So I don't know if Smitty's still on this call, but my water's brown, Smitty. My water is brown. It's been for 10 years. At some point, we got to move forward on this. And every time I see Housatonic Waterworks show up on an agenda, I get the answer, they're still working on the report. They're still working on the report. At what point do you guys say, get us the freaking report because we want these people to have clean, safe drinking water? I mean, it's at an end. Just, I don't care how many times we've heard, oh, it's the sun, it's the weather, whatever. We can call Jim Mercer 48 times a day. Nothing has changed. That needs to change. Not like soon. Absolutely soon. Okay, 100%.
Thank you, Dan.
Do I still have a couple minutes or a minute?
You have seconds, but go right ahead.
Darn. All right. Next time you guys are going to base your decisions on how much the money is, how much money the town might lose on something, think of this before you say no to horse racing, because you never asked how much money that town was going to make, how many jobs were lost by not accepting horse racing, and you spent $3,000 for a special town meeting to make sure that we didn't make any money off of it. And same goes for the airport. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else in citizen speak time?
Steve, may I just clarify one comment on the Housatonic?
You may, of course.
Okay. Dan, I appreciate the feedback, but I just want to be clear that our engineers have been working all winter on these reports. And at this point, they're still on schedule. We did say right from day one that we expected their reports in late spring. So, I do mention it frequently only to keep Housatonic residents and the board in the loop to let them know that we are working on it and to, just remind everyone that progress is being made. So we are on track, on schedule, and I anticipate a June 21st presentation from both AECOM and DPC.
Thank you, Mark. Select board time. Start with Garfield. Anything?
Yes, we're kind of told that, Harris, I guess, is new people on the board, maybe some things that we might be interested in. And of course, my interests will certainly reflect the same as my platform, which is always affordable housing, a senior tax deferral, which is something I'd like to get into at some point. And just with the problems that we have with the Yellow House, it'd be nice to think that if it's possible, do you think we should maybe have some health inspections done in these places to make sure people are living safely?
Thank you, Garfield. Eric.
I'm all set. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed.
Nothing.
Lee.
Just a request, please, that we put on the agenda, hopefully for the next meeting, a discussion about Main Street and the speed and safety for pedestrians, because there has been some issues and near misses. And I'd like to just update the town on plans for Main Street and pedestrian safety.
We'll do it if Chief Storty can make it, or Sergeant Carlotto to give us a report, yes. I have nothing else. Any media time? Seeing none, we are adjourned by unanimous consent. Thank you, everyone.
All right.